This is the type of bloke who, to use the Aussieism, if you were on fire, he wouldn't piss on you. This is the bloke who, if he was at a social function and he met you, he'd be looking for someone more important than you. That's the measure of this wanker.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And that was Sky's Paul Murray spitting the dummy in spectacular fashion over the sins of Coalition frontbencher Christopher Pyne, who Murray described in a 6-minute tirade last Monday as piss weak, useless, an arsehole, wanker, the Minister for Pork Barrelling and much, much more.
Well, I find it disgusting that this man, who I repeat wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire, wastes your time and our air.
On and on it went until Murray, who plays wingman for Team Abbott, kicked on by telling Coalition viewers,
go and join Cory Bernardi's party. Stop letting people like Christopher Pyne abuse you.
So why the torrent of vitriol? Well, as a telly exclusive had revealed that morning under the headline,
Left in Gay Abandon, Secret Tape.
A recording of Christopher Pyne addressing a moderate Liberal Party function had been leaked to News Corp columnist Andrew Bolt. And after a day of hue and cry, and just before Murray went to air, Bolt had played it on his programme.
So we're in the winner's circle, friends. We are in the winner's circle. But we have to deliver a couple of things, and one of those that we've got to deliver before too long is marriage equality in this country.
It's hard to know what most upset the right, but whether it was a promise to fast-track same-sex marriage or the boast that moderates controlled the Liberal Party, Andrew Bolt was quite clear what it meant.
This is likely to start a civil war in the Turnbull government and the beginning of the end for Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull.
And with that, Sky's cavalcade of Conservative commentators lined up on the old King's side, starting with Abbott's former Chief of Staff, Peter Credlin, who charged that the Liberal Party was now a plaything
for men with really small minds, for little men with soft backbones, with no ticker, no heart and no soul. That's who is running the Liberal Party now.
1 hour later, former Queensland Premier Campbell Newman was also on Sky to tell Turnbull to lay down his arms.
He's got to do the right thing. I'm saying it really clearly tonight. He's got to resign. He has to resign. He has led the Liberal Party into the valley of death.
There's long been talk of the foxification of Sky News, and since News Corp took full ownership in December, it's been looking and sounding more and more like its famous American counterpart, especially in the evenings when its Conservative commentators are often in furious agreement. And on this occasion, even Sky's Graham Richardson applauded Murray for his foul-mouthed attack.
That was a spectacular opening, might I say. The most spectacular opening to a show on this channel I've ever witnessed.
God love you.
So,
wanker, arsehole, piss, weak. Imagine the reaction if ABC commentators took to the Coalition or anyone else like that. Perhaps it's understandable why John Menadue, who ran Rupert Murdoch's Australian news empire in the 1970s, argued recently that News Corp should not be allowed to get any more powerful.
It is not just rogue individuals, it's a rogue organisation, and the Australian government should resist any attempt to expand the media power of the news organisation, which already controls 60 to 70% of the metropolitan media in Australia.
Of course, News Corp can't own Channel 10 until the media laws are changed, and for the moment that's not happening. But with the network in administration and officially up for sale, the story rumbles on. And last Monday it took a sensational turn with this splash in The Australian.
Exclusive.
10 Network chairman David Gordon sold almost all his shares in the network before the company was placed into voluntary administration.
Naughty, naughty. Darren Davidson, the Australian's media editor who got the scoop, described the revelations as damaging, implying that 10's chairman had jumped from a sinking ship and asking if the chairman's interests had been aligned with the major shareholders like Lachlan Murdoch, who is Davidson's billionaire boss. And the Australian then upped the ante by publishing comments from readers suggesting the chairman's actions could be criminal.
This looks bad.
Smells like, sounds like, looks like insider trading.
Collusion, media law breaches, corruption, conflicts of interest.
But was the story true? Well, no. David Gordon hadn't sold a single share. Not one. So how had Darren got it so wrong? Well, easy really. In doing his sums, he'd missed a naught.
The mistake came about because 10 consolidated its share register a year ago, swapping 10 shares for 1, reducing every shareholder's number of shares by 90%.
Whoops! Obviously missed that bit. And neither the subs nor the lawyers at the Oz had picked it up, which is remarkable given the seriousness of the charges Davidson was levelling and given the punchline in the paper's recent brand campaign.
The Australian, for the informed Australian.
By 10 a.m. on Monday, Davidson's story had been removed from the website, and by evening, the Oz was going the full grovel.
The Australian acknowledges that Mr Gordon did not sell any shares in the company, and in fact, his shareholding increased in the period before the company was placed into administration.
But there was yet more crow to be eaten, because Davidson had also told readers...
It's understood that the David Gordon-led board may have not undertaken scenario analysis on cash flow modelling.
And that Ten's board had been
caught unprepared when the three main shareholders decided not to back a financial restructuring of the broadcaster.
As the apology admitted, both these claims were also wrong, making it 3 out of 3, the perfect trifecta. We asked the Australian if they had any comment, and editor John Lehman told Media Watch,
"We take our responsibilities to our readers to present accurate information very seriously. On this occasion, we did not deliver the thoroughness we expect of ourselves, and we've acknowledged this publicly. We have issued a sincere public apology to David Gordon and the Ten board, and reviewed our processes to ensure we maintain our standards."
After threats of legal action, the Australian's apology was repeated this morning in a much more prominent position. But we understand that may still not be the end of it. And talking of maintaining standards, let's look at the media's reporting of Sydney PR queen Roxy Jacenko and her convicted insider trading husband Oliver Curtis, who walked out of jail in southern New South Wales 10 days ago into a media scrum.
Straight off to Cooma Airport. They are in the air as we speak. They're on a Cessna Citation Mustang, I can even tell you that. They're flying back to Sydney. I guess the expectation is they would be landing at Bankstown Airport fairly soon.
Oh, there's a cuddle. There's a cuddle.
There you go.
7 and 9 both sent TV crews to Cooma and to Jacenko's Sydney home to cover this momentous event as it unfolded live. And the print media were just as keen not to miss a moment, with even the Australian up bright and early to catch Roxy leaving home and check out her outfit.
Ms Jacenko, 37, dressed in $1,499 J-brand leather trousers and $872 Jean Vito Rossi plexi stilettos, had been seen lugging a car seat from her Bondi flat to her car at 6:45 a.m. with her children in tow. She was later spotted clutching a $14,000 Hermes handbag as she arrived at Sydney Airport.
Not sure what brand the car seat was, but luckily the Sydney Morning Herald had more product placement in its front page lead and two-page spread inside the paper, which told us...
Never one to miss a publicity opportunity. Jacenko had placed a small white bag from Pixie's Bows, their daughter's accessory brand, on the back seat of the car to greet Curtis.
It's only a publicity opportunity because the Herald and other media choose to give it to her. But it's a convenient excuse for their ridiculous obsession with Roxy's life. And back on 7, showbiz reporter Peter Ford was blaming her for the fact that he was loitering in her driveway.
And I wouldn't normally feel comfortable doing something like this morning, except you know, in the case of Roxy, that she wants her life to be a soap opera. And so this has been a great one, and now the cliffhanger is what happens next? Is the marriage going to survive?
And, of course, the media can find answers if it knows where to look. For example, by cracking the code on Roxy's phone case.
Roxy Jacenko shows off new phone case after removing the letter C from her initials amid rumours she has split from jailed husband Oliver Curtis.
Yes, we've had plenty of stories on the cryptic phone case this year, 3 of which were in the Daily Mail, and all of which were inspired by Instagram posts from the PR queen. And as the stories all reveal, these tag and advertise a luxury leather goods company, which just happens to be one of Roxy's PR clients and sponsors her speaking events. Magic, eh? So, what other products are lit up by the relentless media spotlight? Well, there's her gym client, who gets tagged with all those taut abs selfies, and a burger company, plus another with chicken and lots of donuts, which is apparently why she needs to go to the gym. With the Daily Mail and others breathlessly reporting every Instagram update, Jacenko doesn't need to speak to journalists to spruik her wares. Why anyone bothers to write or read this garbage is beyond me, but clearly they do. And now, two more sober matters and the slow death of community television, which is still clinging to life in 3 of our capital cities.
Channel 31 gets a 6-month reprieve on free-to-air TV shutdown.
That stay of execution came last Tuesday, and if you think you've heard it before, you have, on the ABC in December.
The free-to-air signal was to be switched off this weekend, but an 11th-hour extension granted recently, and without much explanation, has turned plans for 2017 upside down.
The initial threat to pull the plug on community TV was made by Malcolm Turnbull back in 2014, when stations still operated in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth. Then in 2015, Sydney's TVS went dark, and this year Brisbane's Bris 31 disappeared from the airwaves and went online. So, why the pressure to get them all off air? Well, Communications Minister Mitch Fifield wants to free up spectrum used by community broadcasters for new ventures, such as
next-generation broadcasting technologies that could enable new services for viewers, such as the terrestrial broadcast of ultra-high-definition 4K television.
Good news, perhaps, for those with expensive 4K televisions. But for viewers of community TV and aspiring talent and technicians, some of whom are familiar faces, it is a sad farewell.
It was a really, really useful stepping stone because it introduces you to people and it exposes you to the disciplines of broadcasting in a way you otherwise wouldn't.
Fifield argues community broadcasters can operate just as effectively online. But as Channel 31 graduate Dave Thornton told The Project earlier this year,
it literally was a training session for anyone in TV, wherever you wanted to work, in front of the camera, behind the camera, and people are going to miss out on that, which is sad.
The Minister also argues that fewer and fewer people are watching, citing 2016 ratings that showed the peak primetime audience is now down to just 4,000 viewers. But Melbourne's Channel 31 General Manager Matthew Field told Media Watch,
the most appropriate measure of a service like community TV is how many people we reach. And the fact is that the CTV reaches 1.7 million people per month in Melbourne, Perth and Adelaide.
That's a decent audience. And Field also argues that the government's claim of spectrum being needed to test 4K signals is a furphy.
There are currently no tests planned. The reality is that if we are switched off in December, then our spectrum, which is mandated to be used for TV broadcasting, will remain vacant for a number of years.
We reckon the government does have a point. When big broadcasters are busy commissioning digital-only content and Facebook or YouTube offers a way to attract big audiences, it's not obvious why community broadcasters need to use the airwaves. But freeing up spectrum for the sake of revenue and technology that may not be there doesn't make much sense either. And since the government has just handed back millions of dollars to the commercial networks, what's the cost in leaving the TV hobbyists to their sandbox? And finally, to Donald Trump, who yesterday fired another salvo in his war on the media by tweeting under the hashtag #FraudNews, CNN, this video of him at a wrestling match. What can you say? On NBC's Meet the Press, host Chuck Todd was rendered almost speechless.
Hugh Hewitt, we're beyond flabbergasted at this point.
Clearly it is a joke of sorts, but it's led to accusations that the president is inciting violence against reporters.
We had Sarah Huckabee Sanders this week specifically coming out in the White House and for a rare on-camera press briefing saying that the president has never condoned or encouraged or promoted violence. That is exactly what he has just done.
And those who run CNN agreed, issuing a statement to say,
it is a sad day when the President of the United States encourages violence against reporters.
Sad and strange. How on earth does the media deal with a president like that? No doubt they'll hit back even harder. And you can read more about tonight's stories on our Facebook page or our website. We can get a transcript, download the programme and read a statement from Roxy Jacenko and the federal government on community television. You can also catch up with us on iView and contact me or Media Watch on Twitter. And don't miss Media Bites every Thursday on Facebook, Twitter and our website and also on iView. But for now, until next week, that's all from us. Goodbye.